Hey everybody, I hope that you're well, and also hope that you are having a good day so far. Today we'll be doing our grade 4 English lesson on commas. And before we start, we're going to log on to aplusstudents.ca. Once we've logged on to aplusstudents.ca with our username as well as our password, and then we're going to select the subject of English language arts, grade 4. And then we're going to scroll down up until we get to our chapter of commas. All right. So our chapter is commas. Our subject is English language arts. We're doing grade 4. And then the lessons that we are going to be focusing on under the chapter of commas. And it is commas with names of places, commas with direct addresses and after introductory words. And then we're going to do a review on commas because this is a continuation of our previous lesson, which was also on commas. All right. So our chapter is commas. Grade 4. And the lessons is commas with names of places and commas with direct addresses and after introductory words. All right. So when it comes to commas, right? There's many uses of commas, or there's many ways in which we can use commas. And we can use a comma between cities and a state, or we can even use a comma between a city and a country. So we can use a comma between a city and a state, or between a city and a country. All right. And if we look at the examples, right? Here we have Miami, Florida, and there we have a comma between that two, or Paris, France, and we have a comma between that. So we basically put a comma between either a city and a state or between a city and a country. For example, the city that I live in is Cape Town, comma, South Africa. So which means that we add the comma in between the city in which I live in as well as the country. All right. So remember, if you were to write a letter and you were to, for example, add either your city and state or your city and country, then you need to add a comma between the city as well as the state, or between the city and a country. All right. So we can also use a comma, right? So we can also use commas to separate the names of a person being spoken to from the rest of the sentence. And if we look at an example, right? This is how we separate a name from the rest of the sentence. And it's the name of a person that is being spoken to, and we are separating that from the rest of the sentence. All right. And if we look at an example, Bella, the person's name, thank you. It's like you're saying thank you to Bella, but before you say thank you, Bella, you're just saying Bella, thank you. It's like you're calling the person first, then you're saying whatever you want to say. Bella, thank you. Another one is also, you can basically just turn it around by saying, thank you, Bella. So you can either first call the person, then you say, Bella, and then thank you. You can say, thank you, Bella. But we basically separate the name that is being used or the person that is being spoken to from the rest of the sentence. All right. And another one is thank you, Bella, for your help. So basically, the comma is still being used to separate the name. So whether you say thank you before the name or you say something after the name, either way, the name needs to be cornered off with a comma. And we use a comma after words like yes, no, well, and many others when they are followed by a completed sentence. All right. And if we look at an example of how we can use commas after words like yes, no, well, and many others, then it is yes, comma, that sounds great. So, yes, that sounds great. All right. So we say, yes, that sounds great. Or we can say, well, let me think about it. So, well, let me think about it. And that is how we can use commas. After introductory words, with direct addresses, and commas with names of places. All right. And remember, this is a continuation of our lesson on commas. And like we say, we are using commas with names of places where we write a comma between the city and the state or between a city and a country. And then commas with direct addresses and after introductory words, right? We separate the name of a person that is being spoken to from the rest of the sentence. And then we also use a comma after words like yes, no, wow, and many others. And then it needs to be completed with a sentence. All right. So now we're going to aplusstudents.ca. And before we even go to aplusstudents.ca, we said when it comes to using a comma between a city and a state or between a city and a country, we write down the city as well as the state or the country. All right. So here I wrote down the city in which I live in, and I wrote the country in which I live in. What city do you live in? And what country do you live in, or what state do you live in? But you need to write it with a comma in between. So your city and your state or your country. right. All right, let's go to aplusstudents.ca. And this is where we are going to continue with commas, with names of places, commas with direct addresses and after introductory words, and commas review. So commas with names of places, right? Commas with names of places. Remember we said that we use a comma between a city and a state. So we use a comma between a city and a state, or we use a comma between a city and a country. And we made an example, right? Miami, Florida, and there we have a comma in between. Or Paris, France, and there we have a comma in between. The comma is in between a city and a state, or a city and a country. All right. So here it says, right? They're not giving us the sentence. So here they're not giving us a sentence. All right. So now we're going to, they're not giving us an activity, they're only giving us the answers. So let us go to our test. And this is where we are going to use commas with names of places. And remember, we said we need to put a comma in between the city and the state, or the city and the country. We need to correct the bold part of the sentence by adding any missing commas. And if the sentence is already correct, then don't add any commas. So we have option one. There's a famous 400-year-old garden in Bonn, Germany. Or option two, there's a famous 400-year-old garden in Bonn, Germany. Which one is correct? Option one or option two? Look at where the comma is. So which one is correct? Option one or option two? We need to say which one is correct. Look at where the comma is. Remember, we are doing commas with names of places, and we said we put a comma between a city and a state, or between a city and a country. All right. And if we were to select the correct option, right, then we will choose option one. And option one is correct. We have our city and our state in between. And in between, we have our comma. All right, so we need to choose the correct one. Is it option one? It took 22 years to complete the Taj Mahal in Agra, India. Or option two, it took 22 years to complete the Taj Mahal in Agra, India. Which one is correct? We need to say which option is correct. Option one or option two. So option one, Agra, India, or option two, which one is correct? All right. And if we were to choose the correct option, then yes, we will choose option two, which is Agra, India. Well done. Option two is correct. All right, the next one is temperatures can drop quite low in Prospect Creek, Alaska, or in option two in Prospect Creek, Alaska. And if we were to choose the correct option, then we will choose option one. All right, so option one is correct. All right, the next one says the first electric traffic lights were invented in 1914 in Cleveland, Ohio. All right, so we need to choose the correct option. Option one or option two? And if we were to choose the correct option, we will go with option one, Cleveland, Ohio. All right, so that is option one. All right. So here it says Megan and I bought our first house in Nashville, Tennessee, option one or option two. Which one is correct? Option one or option two? All right. So we say that if we were to choose the correct one, it is option one. All right. So we need to correctly write, or let's say choose our correct word by looking at the words that is in bold. All right. So now we're going to, that was the commas with names of places. Now we're going to commas with direct addresses and after introductory words. And remember, we said with after introductory words, you either first say the person's name and then the sentence, or the sentence and then the name. All right. So here it says we need to correct the bold part of the sentence by adding any missing commas. All right. And if we were to look at these ones, we said we use our commas to separate the names of a person being spoken to from the rest of the sentence. And here we have a few example on stage, on the in front of you. And we also use commas after words like yes, no, wow, when they are followed by a complete sentence. All right. Yeah, it says actually it isn't polite to interrupt people when they are talking. Actually. It's like somebody giving attitude and being like, girl, please actually, you did. Mm-mm-mm. All right. So now we're going to our test where we are going to use we're going to use commas with direct and after indirect word. And remember we said with direct and after introductory words, right? It is where you use commas to separate the names of a person that is being spoken to. Whether we first say whatever we want to say, then the person's name, or first the person's name and then the sentence. All right. So now we're not still going to look at that. We are going straight to our test where we are going to use commas with direct addresses and after introductory addresses. Ne? We need to correct the bold part of the sentence by adding any missing commas. And if the sentence is already correct, then don't use it. Option one, do we say Earth? Yes, Earth travels about 1.6 million miles every day, or option 2? Which one is correct? Option 1 or option 2? So option 1 or option 2? Which one is correct? Yes, Earth travels about 1.6 million miles every day. All right. And if we were to choose the correct one, then yes, option 1 is correct. Well done. Yes, well done. Option 1 is correct. The next one says, did you hear, Miss Arnold, that there's a blizzard coming? Or option 2? Which one is correct? The first one or the second option? So option 1 or option 2? Which one is correct? Did you hear, Miss Arnold, that there's a blizzard coming? All right. And if we were to choose the correct option, then yes, we will choose option one. Because remember with option one, we said we write down the sentence, comma, the name, comma, and then followed by another sentence, or we complete the sentence. So the name is in between the two commas. The next one says, no, we will not dress our dog in a costume for Halloween, or option two. All right, so option one or option two. And if we were to select the correct option, then we will choose option one. All right, then option one is correct. The next one says, Grandma, your refrigerator seems to be broken. Or option two, Grandma, your refrigerator seems to be broken. All right, and if we were to choose the correct option, then we will go with option one. Grandma, your refrigerator seems to be broken. All right. And now we're just going to go over a review of commas. And this is basically still a combination also of the previous lessons that we did, where we use commas to separate three or more items in a series, and that is series words. For example, I like apples, bananas, and so we separate it. All right. Remember, we said that we use commas to separate two or more items in a series. We also separate dates by using a comma between the day and the year. We use commas to separate, or basically, we use commas between a city and a state, or between a city and a country. We use commas to separate the name of a person being spoken to from the rest of the sentence, or we even use a comma after words like yes, no, well, and many others when they are followed by a complete sentence. All right, so now we need to add or remove the two commas. The sentences should have two commas only. It says, Kayla invents many wonderful tales about dragons, giants, and unicorns. So which one is correct? Option one or option two? All right, and if we were to select the correct one, must only have two commas, then we'll go with option one. Yes, and option one is correct. The next one says, actually, all reptiles have skin that is covered with scales. One comma. And if we were to select our correct option, we would go with actually, all reptiles have skin that is covered with scales. So well done. All right, let's do the last one. It says, well, a cold-blooded creature takes on the temperature its surroundings. So a cold-blooded creature takes on the temperature of its surroundings. One comma. And if we were to select the correct answer, right, we would say it's option one. All right. And the last one says, you have to see the arches of Moab Utah. And if we were to select the correct one, we will say it's option one. All right, so this is now the end of our lesson on commas, right? We did a whole review on commas. We went to list a series of names and separated dates, names of places, as well as direct address and introductory word. Thank you very much, grade 4, for joining the class, and I really hope you're going to have a good day further. All right, so this is the end of our lesson. Thank you very much, grade 4s. You must have a good day further. So till next time, goodbye.